Hey there, and welcome back. It is another Thursday, and that means we're going to talk to another DJ pro who's out there making it happen. This is Jason Jones on Mobile Music Thursday, and I'm really excited to talk music this week with my guest. He's somebody that you will find in the Disc Jockey News, the DJNTV virtual training. If you haven't checked that out, you can check that out at the Disc Jockey News site with a lot of really great and valuable information from his site experience and business experience. And today we're going to talk to him about music because still at the core, a DJ at heart and a really good one at that. So this is going to be really exciting to learn from Jason Jani. Jason Jani has a company called the SCE Event Group, and they primarily do weddings, nightlife, celebrity socials, and corporate production. And they're based out of New Jersey in the Long Beach area, but they do work globally. They go everywhere with the production that they do. So Jason, it's really a pleasure to be able to have you here on Mobile Music Thursday. Thanks for setting aside the time.
Thank you so much, Jason. It's an honor to be here, and just thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So as you've probably seen on the show, and what we do is that we like to talk about music, what's working to fill the dance floor, what's really hooking people, some of the new songs that are getting people excited, or even ones that are not. Just like I'll give you an example: the Ariana song "Grande" with "Problems," which has been like all over the radio, top downloads for months and months and months, and every DJ I talk to says we're not getting a request for it, and we're not even really putting it in our sets. It's like not existing. It's like that's really being driven by the tweens, the 12 to 15-year-olds. And so is that something that you're experiencing at the events you're doing?
Well, you know what? I think any artist, it's hard to pigeonhole any artist into any specific area as in working or not. I mean, I think you have to kind of think about the events as they stand. So a wedding, for instance,
Sure.
if you have a younger couple, you might have a little bit more opportunity to play some of that like very pop relevant and that cutting edge new stuff. If the couple's a little bit older, they might want some throwbacks from the 90s or 2000s to kind of get them moving. Problem that the song specifically, like, it is in my sets now in the nightlife world, and we do play it in some of our wedding productions.
Mm-hmm.
If they're looking for that like hip new style kind of like DJ,
Okay.
kind of like experience.
Sure.
But is it a floor filler? Would I use it as an opening track? No, but is it in there? It could be in there, depending on the crowd and all of that stuff.
Sure. Well, that leads me to kind of a natural question that I really like to tell everybody or ask everyone because it's really always insightful. And you already started to talk about it anyway. And that is like really how you approach programming each night. I mean, no matter where you are, you're always programming to the audience that you have in that room that night. So how do you, so maybe talk a little bit about your process because it is different for each client, each couple, whether it's a corporate or a wedding. So how do you approach looking at each client and approach how you're going to be setting up your music sets for the night?
Okay. Well,
big question. I know.
Yeah, it's a big question, and you can answer it a couple different ways. I think at a very, insightful level, right? Like where we are is at SCE, and I come from the background of working in the nightlife industry, so
Okay.
I'm not one who ever pre-programs what I'm going to do. I have an idea what a couple might be interested in based on my planning sessions with them through the process, but I don't go into any event ever and say I'm going to start off with this song, and this one. I kind of base what I'm going to play based on the energy of the room or the celebration at that point, whether it's nightlife, wedding, corporate, somebody. So it doesn't anything, in theory, things work one way always, but in actuality, energy levels, vibes, tones, the atmosphere, can change, right? Like if you're vibing out with a group and you kind of feel like you need to go in with some clubby energy stuff, that's the way we're going to start. Some groups you need to throw it back and do some older stuff, whether it's Motown or 70s or 80s or 90s stuff. And then some groups you just kind of like massage the group with what's current and get them kind of like easing into it, and kind of go from there. So from a organization or a production standpoint, I don't pre-program sets. I do have an idea of what people are interested in based on what their must play or do not playlist dictates, but you really like 30 seconds before we start, that decision's made based on the energy that moment in time for that specific group, and then kind of go from there.
Okay, so that's awesome, and it leads me to wonder about like so you go in and you're kind of like you're just going to start painting on the canvas based upon what's happening in the room in the moment, and you have a list from your clients. It's either a do not play or a must play, but I know that there are DJs that actually like you will have the client like, what all do you want me to play that night? I'll play what you want me to play. How much artistic license do you maintain yourself to be able to adapt and move and work to work with the crowd, and how much do you just say, well, we'll lay out the music and I'll put that together?
Yeah, no problem. So like for us, we offer our couples or clients the ability to be as hands-on as they like. I am fortunate enough to do events for people that a lot of people are dialed in. They're in the
Mm-hmm.
know. They know what they're looking for. They know what they want to create. So some of those people might say, "Here's 10 pages of music. This is home for my event.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happens, don't leave home. Whatever you want to do, stay in this universe."
Sure.
I work with other people that are like, I don't really care what you play, just make sure my dance floor stays full and don't play the Black Eyed Peas or something,
Right.
right? So if someone is very specific, I do always ask for artistic liberty to kind of go in and out of different things, because the audio landscape, the environment for which we're creating, sometimes for you to achieve certain energy levels or certain things that people
Mm-hmm.
want, have to do other things to kind of get people engaged into that. And you think about like someone that's like really into like new disco or like that indie rock stuff. Well,
Yep.
like some of the stuff is really, really good, but it's not going to pack your dance floor. But
Mm-hmm.
if it's intertwined with things that work or that will vibe with the room, you're more likely to retain a dance floor once you start going into that stuff, if that's the goal, right? Like, so you kind of like use the framing of what works as opposed to what doesn't work, to achieve an event that the person's looking for. And when I mean that, you talk about energy levels, feelings, and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So you're knowing like you're using like similar music genre, style, and energy, intensity, that sort of thing that this particular group is going to go bananas for, so that the ones that they selected you can include and have in there and have the outcome that the client wants, which is to see all their friends and everybody having really fun to those songs they selected.
Right. I would consider myself like an open format DJ. So I don't stay stuck in genre. I try to move things around and keep people guessing, because I think usually what invokes great emotion
Mm-hmm.
and energy level kind of shifts is when you do some random stuff that keeps people engaged and just really throws a curveball where it's like, wow, I haven't heard that in a while. And
Sure.
whether they're older, younger, they're kind of dialed into the music. So,
Mm-hmm.
like I really try to take um, the the path of not. I do my best to not do the same thing over and over again. And, it can be challenging for someone in our universe, the mobile entertainment field, to not do that, or to get kind of stuck in different moods. But I really try to take the time to not do the same thing over and over again, and to try to be creative and use not only pop culture, but throwback stuff and whatever influence I have from the couples or the event planner or the person that's throwing the
Sure.
event, to kind of just make it different and really specific and dialed into that event, in and of itself.
Totally. Can you give me some examples of maybe what that might look like from a playlist or something like that, to whereas like you came out of something and thought, I'm going to surprise them. I bet I could surprise them with this going this direction or going country now, or what that would be. Was there any specific examples that you could give us?
Yeah, like I guess like I like to use like wordplay in a lot of my sets. So that's like connecting lyrics from different songs and different genres to get people to respond and to kind of like energy. And that's something that's pretty popular in small circles in the nightlife world, right? So like
Okay.
if you were to key off of the word love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're to use maybe like Mary J. Blige, Real Love, and then you're connecting Justin Timberlake, Summer Love, and then you're connecting, maybe like a throwback mashup or mix of Grease, Summer Lovin', right? Like
Sure.
things that, because you set the foundation, people can't predict what you're going to do. Problem is another one that we talked about before. Well, like there's a ton of stuff out there where you have, the Ariana Grande edit of Problem, and then you have Jay-Z Problems, and
Mm-hmm.
you kind of go back and forth, and you can take similar bass lines and similar connecting of words, like Real Love is a great example where love in the wedding space is a great thing to talk about,
Sure.
right? And same with like Married or there's a lot of transitional tracks like that you can key off of different things. But, that's kind of a very high level example, I guess, of just like a wordplay kind of like segment or whatever.
Right. And when you're doing that, are you mixing? Are you playing like a minute and a half of a song and then mixing into the next and then doing a minute and a half and mixing into the next? Or are you doing close to full songs? I mean, kind of put this in a context for me. I'm trying to kind of imagine what that would what that sound like. I get the idea of going thematic with lyrics. But then how does that work when you're actually starting to manipulate it like the musical clay, if you will?
So I like to play fast, but not every event kind of like takes, so an example, like uh, last weekend I had played one of the nightlife spots down at the Jersey Shore that's very popular. There's, 1,500 people in the room. And I had played 189 songs in 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Wow.
So I was moving a lot of content, but a lot of it was in and out. And I created a flow with that, right? So I'm going to probably release that on my SoundCloud so people can actually hear me do it.
Very cool.
In a wedding context, it's not the same because, when you have a wedding or a social event, a corporate event, you're connecting with a crowd and you have a whole room singing the hook of a Journey song or whatever.
Sure.
Field. There's certain songs that stand, right? So like Journey, right? Like Don't Stop Believing, you're going to carry that vocal because everyone's going to sing it to the very end. A song like Your Love by the Outfield, after that as the beginning of that second verse, people are already kind of losing it. You know what I mean? Because the song starts off and then it comes down. So I don't think there's one recipe for it, but, certain parties need you to play faster than others. And as long as you hold it kind of like the structure, the integrity of the song and whatnot, I think you can kind of move quickly and keep kind of the flow as long as it's kind of consistent in mix, kind of like clay mashing. You know what I mean?
Right,
like
right.
It's a consistent vibe. Like I think it works well. But you know what? My style kind of evolves with every time we do an event. Sometimes I'm in and out of stuff quicker, and then there's sometimes where you have to like really be careful and watch the crowd. And I like to say as a DJ or as an event host, as a performer, artist, you really become a student of culture because you're watching energy levels, you're watching people respond to different things. And when you're in the zone and you have that opportunity to make a crowd explode, you go ahead and do that. And then what are you going to follow up with that?
Right. Now where are you going to go?
There, yeah. And are you going to pull them back, or are you going to keep them right on that edge? You don't want them to explode, but you're going to keep them right up to that point where they're like about to go, put them there, and then go.
Yes, exactly. Well, and that leads me to wonder, which is a question that often comes up, because, to be able to do what you're describing really requires you to be tuned into your audience. And you speak of the vibe and really knowing the vibe and feeling the vibe, which is not really a tangible. It's not like, oh, go get the vibe. It's sitting on the bar and tell me what it is, kind of thing. It's something that comes from experience, from doing it, but also there must be some things that you do in terms of like what you watch for, what you listen for. I had Scott Favor on a while back, and he likes to go around to the tables and he listens to what people are talking about, and he listens for like cultural cues and different things like that to kind of give him ideas around what he's going to program, kind of what he's going to play. But that works for him. I was thinking like, oh, how would I apply that or try that in terms of like what speaks to me? But everybody has a different way to be able to hear what the audience is whispering to them, even if it looks like they're not talking at all. So if you kind of just imagine or think about like kind of what you do to get yourself tuned into that audience at a wedding dance, whether it happens in the prep or the night of, or both.
Well, at a wedding, I mean, there's a lot of like cues. People, whether they realize it or not, they give off if they're dialed in, right? People tap their feet if they like something.
Sure.
Well, if it's too loud, they're holding their ears, they're leaning in closer. You can see that they're straining to have a conversation, right? To be honest with you, I don't know if there's just one. I don't have like a one secret or one thing that I do. I mean, I really just watch the energy, and over the years, I come from the nightlife background where I've sat in bars and clubs and kind of like figured it out, right? So like watching people change as people respond to music, and whether you understand it or not, like what you do as a DJ really influences their mood in a lot of different ways. And,
Sure.
a lot of people are interactive on a microphone. I kind of come from the background, although I am an event host and I do all formalities and whatnot. When the wedding starts to take shape, I'm not really too aggressive on the interaction. I let the music do the talking for me. And
Sure.
I kind of come from the background. If you kind of know what to play and how to play it, people will dance. You don't have to trick them or use things to kind of get it to go. So like, I really watch energy levels. I just kind of see what people are responding to, and I try to create an opportunity for them to let loose. People go to weddings ready to have a great time, and it's the entertainment's job to either allow them that opportunity or to hinder them from doing that, and
Sure.
I want people to leave and say that was the best event they've ever been to. Not it was a good party, not the food was great. I want them to be
Like, oh, that was like, oh, just one they talk about, they wish they could relive.
Yeah, I've been to 30 weddings in my life, and that one I'll never forget.
Right.
And where did my tie go?
Yeah, exactly. And where am I again?
Yeah.
So when you describe like being in the club and just kind of figuring it out, what and if you were going to share with a novice or even somebody that just wants to enhance their ability, is it just and I picked up several cues about just watching people's behavior while you're playing a certain type or certain genre and seeing like kind of what people are vibing on and things like that. What do you do in those situations where you maybe you get the dance started and they all come out and you have a good floor for the first couple of songs, and then afterwards, no matter what hook song or what genre you throw out at them, they're just not interested in coming back. What do you do you just keep burning hook songs at that point until they do respond? Do you do a line dance? Do you take another approach?
I don't know what you're talking about.
That never happens to you. Of course it doesn't.
No, in all seriousness, I think if you're not connected to the crowd, obviously it's easier to lose it. And I think over time, right? Like, so advice to someone that's coming up into the game and getting involved in stuff is you're never too good. There's always something that you can learn from any situation that you're involved in.
Yes.
Every event I do, I'm able to learn from. And I've been doing this for a long time. I've done thousands of events in my life. I've done some things for some interesting people. I've worked for celebrity clients. I've done things all over the world. And no matter where I go and what I do, there's always something that you can learn from people. So I always listen to what people are saying to me, whether they're vocally saying it to me or their body language is telling me, right? So if I lose a floor, I'm not a big interactive dance guy. I don't lead dances. It's just not the way we kind of do things over here. It works for a lot of people, and a lot of people do it very well. And I wish I could do that. My strength is in other areas, right? So for me, if I lose a floor, I have to figure out a way to reconnect with them and earn their trust. I feel like when people move away from like a dance floor, older folks specifically, it's probably because you didn't earn their trust and they don't trust you and they're not comfortable enough to stay on that floor, right? So like older guests, I think, are a little bit more finicky than younger guests. Younger guests are like low-lying fruit at an event for me. Like, I get them. My goal is to really like earn the trust and the confidence of the older guests to let them know that I'm going to create an opportunity for them to have a great time tonight. Whether they do it or not, it's there for them. And I'm considerate as to what is going to take to keep them involved, right? So like, I always dip back to throwbacks and sing along kind of stuff if I need to. If I lose the crowd, it's because we're not connected. And the only way to get reconnected is to do like a formal reset of the floor, whether you go into a slow song or you go a different direction, or maybe you go into another component of that day or that timeline, or if it's a corporate event, it's very different. Like things that impact corporate events are spouses in attendance. Are they by themselves? Are they from the area? Are they traveling in? Like, what are they doing right after that?
Right.
These are questions that you kind of have to consider because you need to put yourself in the minds of the people that you're performing in front of, right? Like, same thing if I do another DJ's wedding. It's like, okay, like these are people that are dialed in. Like, what am I going to do that's going to shift them out of their work mind and put them into their party mind?
Right, exactly.
and kind of go
Exactly.
from there.
Well, and that's really interesting. As I listen to you talk, it makes me wonder. And even when you were talking before about like where you'll say, okay, I'm gonna do a little theme here with problem as an example you gave, and then like pick out different songs that I can pull together to kind of go a lyrical theme. And it sounds like that you don't run what I would call like traditional sets. Like I'm gonna do 3 songs of country, and then I'm gonna do 3 songs of pop, and then I'm gonna do 3 songs of oldies, but that you get more creative with your sets. And could you share a little bit more about like how you like different ways that you like to get creative with how you group songs, or do you even group songs? Do you just go by what's the next beats per minute and what's the, like what's happening in terms of taking what's happening next? How does that work for you?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't group songs together. Like if I was to show you my Serato folder, which I actually opened up just in case I need to like pull up stuff, I don't categorize things like most people would say, okay, this is deep house, this is tech house, this is
Yep.
dance floor top. My collection is promo only. Okay, that's my promo only collection. This is like this service that I subscribe to, or these are my own personal remixes that I've created, or this is twerk stuff, right? Like I don't go in and say, yeah, okay, so I know I'm going to play Calvin Harris Summer, and then I'm going to play We Found Love, and then I don't really do that. I mean,
Okay.
I don't think, for me, my style of play, like if I went in with a set playlist, even if I do an appearance somewhere and I play like just an hour-long set, I have like a B and a C, and like even if I try to put an hour together, I have a difficult time doing that because the day of, my moods and things change too. So like I
Sure.
might see something and be like, oh man, I got to do this. I wish I had that, and I don't know how, years ago, I used to go and do nightlife stuff and have 2 crates of records and a binder of CDs, and I can go in with 300 songs and I could do an entire night.
Mm-hmm.
If you asked me to pick 300 songs for a wedding for a 1-hour set, it would take me hours to pull that together. I'm used to walking around. I carry a 6 or 8 terabyte hard drive with me.
Right.
I can go anywhere for anyone. So if someone's like, yeah, can you do this? Yeah, no problem. I can do that. And I'll twist it up and do it live and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I try to play very open in terms of format. So like I really don't know where I'm going to go until I start, and I kind of just feel it, like, I don't know. I, for me, like, and I don't want to sound all zen and all whatever, but
You can sound all zen. It's all good. It's just
yeah.
us DJs here.
I feel it, and not only feel it, I see it. Like I kind of like paint the picture as it takes place, and at the end, like I have a visual as to what I'm trying to create, and I can look at someone and say, okay, I know what it's going to take to get them moving, and
Sure.
you could be wrong.
Sure. So do you work out? And I get what you're talking about, that that kind of feeling like, okay, I know where I want to go next with like the next song, rather than having it be a next set. It's like the next song, I know where I want to go next. Do you also work off of like beats per minute and intensity and things like that? Like if you're building, or if you're dropping back, or if you're doing a slow build, those kind of, what I would say, more technical things that I've picked up in the little bit of club work that I've done, that are still really effective at any dance in terms of like building energy and that sort of thing. Are those more that type of things that are going to kind of dictate your choices of like, I have a choice of like 20 songs that kind of fit the kind of feel of where I want to go next, and then now I need something that's going to be the right beats per minute or the right intensity? Or is that not even, are you able to mix around that too?
No, I do. I kind of group things. I guess, like, I wouldn't play something at 104 beats per minute and then jump to 120 beats per minute if it couldn't blend. I mean, like, one thing I'm pretty proud of is like when I do an event, I bring it together flawlessly from beginning to end. I mean, when we do dinner sets, I mix dinner. If I do an oldie 60 set, I mix that. And of course, at the conclusion of the set, I might reset with a new thing, but I'm going to go right back into the next thing. Of course, you don't need to blend slow songs, but anytime there's a vibe, because I look at a 4-hour wedding reception as an opportunity to change the mood, right? So like, even if people are eating salad, I'm seating them for what's about to come next.
Yep.
When they're eating dinner, I'm doing the same thing, because when they're done with dinner, I want them to be rocking in their chairs and singing the words to my song, even if they're in their chairs, so that when I can open that floor, if I ask for it, great, but I don't even have to ask for it. They're ready to kind of go.
They're ready to go. Yeah, you're teeing them up.
Yeah, it's like you kind of set them up. So like you kind of look at what's next, but you also kind of look at the end. Like where do you need them to go? I work with some couples that, on a scale of 1 to 10, they want to be at a 5 or a 6. I have other people that are like at a 15, and like, okay, so how do I make this work? And, when it's not to go, there's a lounge in Asbury Park, New Jersey, one of my favorite places to go as a patron, but also with my wife, but also like play from time to time. And the cool thing about this lounge is the owner doesn't want it to be a club. So you have to kind of keep the crowd there, keep them engaged, but you really don't want them to dance. So you want them to rock back and forth. You want them to sing.
You want them to like, oh, they like, I like the scene here. This is fun. I'm enjoying the vibe, but they're not like, just like, let's jump up on the floor.
We don't want to make it like every other like Jersey Shore club where people are going
Sure.
crazy. We want them to enjoy the experience, and it's more sophisticated, more of an adult kind of experience, right? Where people can come dressed up, they can have a great time. They're not socially kind of like corded off by VIP or this or that, but that's kind of goes with that club. And, like I've been afforded the opportunity to play at this place because the owner understands from a technical perspective, I'm going to do what it takes to keep that vibe there.
Right.
But the reason why it was attractive to me, right, is because it does everything that I have to do for everyone else differently, right? Like, so it's a challenge to have people not dance, right?
Yes, right. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the antithesis. It's like, oh, do a little too much intensity. Oh, gotta back it off or go somewhere else.
Pull them back. Take them to the edge and then pull them back. Take them to the edge and pull them back.
Right,
and,
right. How
music
fun!
Music is an incredibly powerful tool, and this is a mobile music for mobile entertainment production thing. But one thing of, I guess, advice I see is, a lot of people are focused on like all the stuff and like all the lights and this and I got all this, and all that stuff is incredibly important. And we do a ton of production work at our events at SCE, but like the basis, the foundation for what we do is music. So like, I've been doing this for a long time, and I'm still trying to continue to grow the craft and to try different things and to push my personal creative bar in different areas. So we always challenge ourselves to do different things. And with our team here, we get together and we kind of like brainstorm different music things and what's working here, and what did you hear on Sirius on the ride in that made you feel a certain way, or what's the song that it's a random you heard here or heard there, and how can we bring it into the mix to shift a private event or a social event or a nightlife event in a different way. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's all the homework that it takes so that when you show up, you have everything you need to be able to be amazing that night. And it's not just like I've got 10 million songs on Spotify and I'm here and I'm going to be amazing now. It's like, all that homework that goes into it. This has been so awesome. This always goes by way faster than I wish it. I wish this show would go on for hours. I do, because it's like we have so much more to talk about. But we're at our last question, and the last question is probably maybe something that you don't get asked very often. This is the put on the spot question. What kind of music do you like to listen to if you want to kick out? And I know it depends, because I'm different in the shower than I'm in the car. But let's say like a song comes, you got music you're going to put on the radio and turn it up in the car when you're going somewhere. It's your DJing for you. You're the only audience. What does Jason Jani love?
You know what? Like in the car, I like to listen to throwback rock stations because I feel like everything kind of circles back in my life to some of that kind of origin and my love for music. And when I say throwback, I mean like 80s, 90s, even 70s stuff. I like to be different and eclectic. If I'm home hanging out with my family at the pool, I listen to reggae.
Oh, cool.
If I'm in my house and I'm just chilling out, I'm a huge fan of like tech house and deep house. So like if I have people over, that's probably what we're listening to. I also like indie rock. So I'm kind of all over the place. Anytime you come by me, we have in our house, we have Sonos kind of everywhere. So there's music playing in every room. And
cool.
My wife and I have 2 young children at home, and it's been really important for me to make sure that they have a love for music from the beginning. So I used to do a lot of radio mix show content for different radio stations all over the country. And when my daughter was born, I used to bring her, her chair and everything in the studio when I would do stuff. Same with my son.
Cool.
They both have it now, so they can appreciate the Beatles. They can appreciate Nirvana. They can appreciate different things, and outside of just like what top 40 radio is dictating that they listen to. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Good advice as a musical dad. Let me tell you.
yeah.
An extra bonus, not expected here on Mobile Music Thursday. Jason, thanks for the time. I so appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on, and I'd love to have you back on the show. I'm sure there's lots and lots of stuff that we can talk about. Can we do that in the future?
Let's do it, Jason. Thank you so much, man, and good luck to everyone.
Awesome. My more talented, better-looking doppelganger, Jason Jani, out in New Jersey. Thanks for being on the show. This is Jason Jones for another Mobile Music Thursday. We'll talk to you next week.